All right, that's it, Talking Reds. Craig is back from Platty Jubes celebrations. And ready to talk about the footy again.
I was in Portugal.
He's got out of his gold carriage this morning and he's back. So yeah, we're talking, I mean, everyone's talking, aren't they, about Sadio Mane going and Darwin Nunez hopefully coming in. Still some things to be dotted and crossed and things to be agreed and all that, but it seems very much like it will happen, and it's just a case of how much will Bayern pay for Sadio and how much will Liverpool pay for Nunez. I know, of course, Liverpool have pulled out of deals in the past because, you know, it's been too expensive or whatever, but basically every reporter who's got some kind of knowledge around Liverpool, contacts around Liverpool this morning, they're all saying that Liverpool are ready to break the transfer record, ready to go higher than the 75 million they paid for Virgil van Dijk to get the player in. 22 years old. You excited about it?
I am really excited, yeah. I love the genre of Bayern footballers that have played really well against us. We've seen that quite a few times in the past.
It's not always worked though, has it?
It hasn't, but
Bogdan.
Recently... Come on, no, gosh, remember he was so good in that Bolton game, wasn't he? 0-0. I was like, that was awful.
I was at that
I was thinking more Sadio Mane scoring goals against us, Diaz more recently.
Minamino.
Yeah, Minamino. And look, he's worked out as well, like you would say. But no, I'm really, really excited about him. I think he's... Look, I haven't watched loads of him, so I feel as if I might be lazy in saying, like, I like how he almost seems to be like, he there's a bit of Lewandowski about him in terms of, like, how he looks, isn't there? But then he seems to be a little bit quicker. He seems to be great at cutting in from the wings. He seems, everyone's talked about, like, a bit of Fernando Torres. We love, like, making, like, going to the past and going, well, who's he most like? Because he's this, like, you know, tall, fast, good-looking fella, as Klopp said. But I'm really, really excited about him. His goal-scoring record speaks for himself. I think he feels like another sweet spot signing where you're signing him just as he's about to go like that. How are you feeling about him? Like you excited?
I was you know I was like you in that, you know, obviously saw him in the 2 games against us and at Anfield in particular. Thought he was a real handful, and then I thought I just thought it was interesting at the time the way Klopp was with him. So straight out, arms round him, talking about him in the press conference afterwards, and you thought then, I wonder if something will come of this. And like you kind of think that the way Liverpool's run as a club, I don't think it's like dictatorial. I think like Klopp listens to players, listens to staff. Do you know what I mean? Obviously he's the man ultimately who makes the decisions, but it wouldn't surprise me if, as you say, you know, they've come off the pitch and gone, he's an handful there, you know. You might want to look at him. And look, I don't think it'll just be about that. I mean, you know, there's a lot of hand-wringing online like there always is around anything that Liverpool decides to do in the transfer market. But the idea that, you know, they've only got onto him because he played well in 2 games against Liverpool, no, obviously nonsense. Like they've got scouts all over the world, they've got contacts in Portugal, they've got staff as well who've worked in Portugal, who definitely have, and players who've played in Portugal as well, of course. So, you know, they will have known about him for a while. I'm sure they've watched them in great detail. They do all the things we know that they do around every player. They'll get a dossier, they'll look into his background, they will have watched the videos, they will have watched them in person. And it sort of makes me laugh a little bit. Look, I understand that, you know, it's just fan conversations, but some of the fan conversations where people have gone to the length of, you know, making a video of all his bad touches or whatever. You do that for any player. And surely any player who's 22 years old as well, that's still at an age where you're going to be a little bit raw. You know, sure. and as you say, it's about buying him at a time where he's then going to take off. Because, you know, if you leave him and he takes off on someone else's books, then he's gone and he's not yours and you're not going to get him. So you've got to try and get in there early. And I just think, you know, as you say, pace, for someone who's 6'2", the pace on him is unbelievable.
That was the thing that took me back at the Anfield game. I couldn't believe how quick he was, because in my head he was a bit more of a, not a target man, but like his stature makes you believe that's what you might get. And then he's away, he's getting away from Kanate and you know, definitely wouldn't say by any stretch of imagination bullying him, but you know, definitely in a battle with him, which really, really impressed me. I think like on a few of the things you've said there, Dominic King did a podcast with Josh yesterday. It's on the Anfield Wrap app if you want to listen to it. And one of the things he said was that Liverpool have built up like a really good sort of base of contacts within both Portugal and Spain. And I think that's something that we overlook as fans, because we have it in our head, maybe because of Football Manager or whatever, that you scout a footballer your scouts come back and say, yeah, he's a good one, and then you go, right, we'll bid on him. And actually, it's not like that. It's, you know, there's relationships to be built in these different places that mean that when a player's coming through at an early stage, there's someone saying to you, by the way, you need to have a look at him. You know, 2 years before everyone else. And look, it's not as if Liverpool are plucking this footballer out of the air. He scored over 30 goals this season. Everyone's talking about him. He's the striker that's in vogue, along with Haaland, who's going to City. But you know, they'll have known about him, you know, well in advance of this. And I think, given the way previous transfers have gone in terms of when they are in the media and journalists are talking about him, and then when he's signed, it's usually the window is very, very small now. It's usually Liverpool aren't letting anything in terms of news go until they're sure that it's about to happen. And so that is not ITK. I'm just looking at previous examples since basically Virgil van Dijk, when all of that happens and they get the fingers burned, and from that moment on they've kept their cards close to their chest. And as with Diaz, the news comes out, we sign him. As with, you know, numerous other footballers, Kanate was the same. Hopefully we see the same again with Nunez.
Yeah, and it looks absolutely nailed on, of course, that, you know, Sadio is going to leave and go to Bayern Munich, and it just, you know, there's a bit of game playing going on with the fees. So the latest one, which was dismissed by Anfield officials as laughable, not derisory, boys, no.
That's the next one.
I know. So that was 23.5 million, potentially rising to 30 million. But like, he had to, you know, win the US Open and win at the Crucible or something.
Eurovision.
Win the Eurovision to get the rest of this money. It was winning the Ballon d'Or in each of the next 3 seasons, and Bayern winning the Champions League in each of the next 3 seasons. It's like, come on.
Well, we're going to win one of them, so yeah.
Yeah. And like, before that, they bid 21 million, potentially rising to 25. It says that Liverpool, this is in The Athletic, says that Liverpool are holding out for about 42 million, which coincidentally is also what Bayern are asking for Lewandowski.
That's the big one. That's the funny one. That's what really made me laugh in the report, was they were saying, like, the Bayern keep trying to compare it to the Thiago deal and how they were able to do business then, and how much Liverpool got Thiago for, and Liverpool are going, but you're trying to get rid of Lewandowski at a similar price that we want to get rid of Mane. Mane is the second favourite. I know that Benzema's going to win it. He's way out in front, but he's the second favourite for the Ballon d'Or. So, you know,
scored 20 plus goals in 4 out of the 6 seasons he's been at Liverpool.
He's just scored 4 in the international break. We've seen how he finished the season. Like, you know, like, I don't really want to lose him. I sort of understand the context around it. I remember the night before the Champions League final, and I did a show with Harriet and Josh and Fuad, and we were talking that the news had just come out, and I was saying at the time, you know, I'm a bit worried about this, because if the news comes out at this time and Sadio was saying the things he is, and Jurgen Klopp's saying wherever he is next season, I'm a bit worried that actually this has already all been sort of sorted out between them, and that this isn't just a thing where Sadio Mane's got to the end of the season and gone, I fancy somewhere else, you know, because that's just not how it works. They'll have been talking, they'll have been in dialogue. There's even the possibility, I've seen Rob Gutman say it online, there's even the possibility that Liverpool have been planning for this and actually are the ones that have said, look, we'll take a price for you this summer. That might be the case.
I think as well, like, you know, it obviously has been going on behind the scenes, and so much of football obviously does, and they're under no obligation at any point to tell you anything. It's not, you know, it's not law, it's football. It's not the court. But, you know, it obviously has been going on for a while, and I think the way Sadio sold it, which people have sort of, I think, took a bit of, you know, they're not happy about him, some of his quotes now. I think he was just assuming we were winning the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? And therefore, if he'd come out after winning the Champions League and said, "Okay, we've won and I'm off," you know,
and I've done everything, and
yeah, and it would have, you know, it would have been easier to take a thing. But because we lost, because of the circumstances we lost it and everything else, he's now not really clarified it, and he said some clumsy stuff, and I just hope it doesn't go too far down that road. You know what I mean? I hope it gets done soon, because, you know, I've loved everything he's done for Liverpool. I think he's been, you know, one of my favourite players to watch while he's been at Liverpool. Always liked his spirit as well as his skill. Yeah. Always liked the way he dug in and fought and battled and all that kind of stuff, as well as the great goals and everything else. And we'll miss him, do you know what I mean? Like, I think, you know, second half of the season, where Mo dropped off, there's no two ways about it, you know, in terms of his form. Sadio won us a lot of games.
Yeah, did.
And you know, Nunez coming in, I like the look of him, and like, you know, I'm positive about the idea of signing him, but equally, like any transfer ever, there's a bit of a gamble around it, and how soon will he settle, and all of that kind of thing, and how soon will he fit in with teammates. Obviously, you've got Jota, and you've got Diaz, who are already here and already settled. So I guess it's less of a gamble in those terms. But we're losing Origi as well. Looks like we're losing Minamino as well, albeit we're going to make a 10 million quid profit. But, you know, there's some flux there, there's some change there, which represents a bit of a gamble.
Yeah, definitely. But like the best way of this team evolving is at a time whenever, you know, is at a time whenever it's at its highest. It's at, you know, it's close to the peak, and we got so close to the absolute peak that this team could achieve. But like, I think the Diaz transfer in January now makes so much more sense. Look, at the end of the season, we're all going, look, that made so much sense because of what we were able to achieve and how we were able to go on all four fronts and just how you hit the ground running. But actually, when you look at it now, I wonder whether they think, well, we know Sadio is going to go here, so we'll get Diaz in because we don't want to be bringing in two from the Portuguese league at the same time and then having to start them both at the same time and hope that they both sort of, you know, right from the get-go are brilliant. I think bringing in Diaz, giving him the 6 months, you feel as if the start of the season now he'll be good to go.
And Mo's staying.
Mo's staying, yeah.
You know, like Mo sort of like got lost in this conversation a bit, hasn't he? No, I don't mean us, I mean the wider one. So, you know, people are talking about Haaland, people are talking about Nunez, people are talking about strikers that other teams in the league might buy. We still got Mo, and like you know, you wouldn't bet against him coming back next season, fit and fired and scoring loads of goals. Yeah, exactly. Rest. So you know, he's staying, like, and he's already committed to staying. And look, he might end up leaving for fuck all, and that's disappointing in a way, and I get that. But you know, to have him definitely next season, no matter what happens, that's huge.
Yeah, and also the fact that like. If Darwin comes in and you look at him in pre-season, you go, fuck
Darwin isn't now, lad, yeah?
Darwin Nunez.
We're
getting close to the
Me
transfer.
and Big D.
You know? But like, if they take a look at him and they say, right, fucking hell, he's better than like we thought he was going to be, and he's been brilliant in training, and he's going to, you know, he starts the season from the get-go. Or there might be a Fabinho situation here where they look at him and they go, he needs a little bit of time to settle here. New country, he's only 22 years old, you know, to get used to the way we play. He's got a full summer of that under Klopp, which will really help him. I think that'll really help Diaz as well, getting a full summer, another few months of learning English as well. You know, all of these things. But I think that if, for instance, they look at him and they say, we're just not sure that he's right and we want to give him the best possible opportunity, we don't want to put pressure on him from the beginning. Well, they got Jota to play in that position, and they got Diaz, Jota and Salah. And obviously, look, we're talking about this, and we're not talking about the fact that we've got Carvalho as well coming in, who looks really, really exciting. He's young and he's for the future, but by the sounds of things, they also think he's maybe a bit for the now as well. So, you know, there's loads of options. Firmino, forgot about Firmino. There's a lot to be excited about, and I just feel like this is the right time for all of this, and I don't want to lose Mane, but also bringing him in when we've got these footballers that we can start with, or if they look at him and go, he's a belter, he starts from the beginning. Just lots to be excited about.
Really sad that we haven't been able to do it live today. Some little weird bit of equipment's not working, so we can't like react to your comments and talk about tea and crisps and all of that stuff. But hopefully we can do one of them before I leave. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I'm going to Anfield tonight.
That's right, yeah, for the Stones.
Get in.
For the Stones.
Yeah, I've got Mick tonight, Mick Jagger, and I've got Mick tomorrow, Mick Head.
Nice.
So 2 days of gigging for this old man. I'm going to be fucked.
I'm excited to see Saturday's Gareth.
It's going to be heavy, Saturday's Gareth, isn't it? Saturday's Gareth might not get up till about 3 in the afternoon, I think. There are other stuff in the Athletic piece just sort of rounding up what might happen with some of the other players that are rounded about. So expected to sell Mane and Minamino, also set to bolster their kitty, it says here, by offloading Nat Phillips, who of course was only on loan at Bournemouth, Nico Williams, who there's a lot of interest in, done well of course while he was out on loan, and Oxlade-Chamberlain, which I always thought was coming all the way through last season anyway. It says Liverpool also looking to get Naby Keita and Joe Gomez tied down to new deals and wrap up a $4 million deal for Aberdeen right-back Calvin Ramsey, who would arrive as an understudy to Trent.
That's interesting, isn't it? They're already talking about that. The Nico Williams, they played an absolute blinder with him, by the way, because you know, he looks as if he's just gone up a level and for Fulham, and obviously look, he'll depending on where he goes, you'd imagine he gets a Premier League team after his performances there. But
it's going to be like bottom end of the Premier League or top end of the Championship, isn't it? You'd think, exactly, and then he wants to throw money at it.
And he's going to the World Cup as well, Wales. So you know,
done well, hasn't he? When you think about all the shit he got and all the sort of, you know, like a lot of people doing him down, and he obviously took some of that quite personally, didn't he? It was all on his social media and all that kind of stuff.
Such a young fella though, like it's a lot to deal with. Suddenly you're thrust into, you know, the limelight, and you know he has those games at the end of the season we win the league, and he looks really, really good against Palace when he come on. I thought, and everyone's talking about him, and then, you know, like that's a difficult season for him to have played the most amount of games in terms of what Liverpool's last 5 have been like. He gets the worst one, doesn't he? But no, I think it'll be good for him. I think he'll end up being a really good Premier League right back.
One of the best reasons to do the Nunez deal is because Steve Nicol says we shouldn't.
He loves it, doesn't he? It's like he's the voice of, like, you know, he's the caveat. Do you know what I mean? The public caveat.
It's like this. It seems to be like a competition between some of the ex-players at the minute to be like, who can be the Grinch? Do you know what I mean? Who can be like the Victor Meldrew of the transfer world? And it's very often Steve Nicol. It's very often Dietmar Hamann.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, maybe their agents have said, like, you need to carve a little niche here, lads. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you want to, like, get on stuff, you can't be saying the same as everyone else.
Position yourself as the fucking bell end.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there we go. Maybe that could be my next move.
What do you mean?
Some would say I'm already there.
Lad, we need to get like 20 Talking Reds in before you leave.
I know,
just me and you every day chatting shite.
Yeah, I'll be up for it, to be honest with you. Liverpool have also confirmed that Origi, Karius, Ojo and Woodburn will leave the club when the deals expire at the end of June.
There's a lot of movement this summer compared to the previous ones. That's the only thing that worries me. I'm talking about the evolution of the squad, and obviously for the squad to evolve in the way that we want it to and need it to continue on, that it becomes like a bit of a dynasty in terms of winning. This needs to happen. Players need to move, but there is a lot of movement. Like, I know there's been some people who have wanted, you know, Naby to leave and or for us to sell him and maybe even Joe Gomez like going. But I think keeping players like that while we've got Chamberlain leaving, while we've got even the likes of Origi, like Origi and Minamino have played such a big part in us winning the 2 trophies that we do. And so obviously Carvalho comes in and he takes one of their spots, but then, you know, I don't like how many players are having to leave, Gareth. It makes me a bit nervous.
I know what you mean. It's a little season, a little off season of flux, isn't it? And then the next season is mad as well. You know, with the World Cup in the winter and all this like congestion of games and Champions League, loads of Champions League at the very start of the season.
I'm actually quite calm about next season, and I think Liverpool have 22 games to play before the World Cup. The number of footballers that are going to the World Cup now, especially with Mane leaving, it's actually not that many. It's not as many as you think from Liverpool's squad, and so quite a lot of them will get a decent little winter's break there, and then they go again, especially for someone like Mo Salah, who we see is incredible, electric after he gets the 6-7 weeks break last season. And then sort of falls off a cliff in the new year around him going to the AFCON. Well, he now gets a big break at Christmas. I think actually what's going on next season will quietly suit Liverpool.
Okay, hopefully you got some satisfaction from watching that. See what I did there. That has been Talking Reds. We have got loads of stuff on the Anfield Wrap. You know, we've got Gutters talking about all the transfer gossip.
Loads on Darwin Nunez,
there's prediction shows, there is season review shows, there are transfer committee shows, there are specials about Darwin Nunez as well. So if you don't subscribe already, check it out, download the app. You can get stuff on there for nothing. See if you like it, and if you do like it, subscribe. Check out all the usual stuff as well, the YouTube, the Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagram, the website itself, the shop if you want a t-shirt for the summer. That's all the plugs. That's Talking Reds. Up the Reds!